Welcome to Tips for Clips. Today, in the same haircut, I'll show you two ways how to cut your own hair, turning it from this to this. Here are the Tips for Clips clippers. I've linked them below. We're starting with a number 4 clip, that's 13 millimeters. I'm pushing it here in the closed position, that is the shorter position. And for all of these first steps, I'm going to stay in this closed position. The key on this first step is simply to fade between the longest hair on top and your hair on the sides. So between the sides and the crown. As you go up, you want to stay parallel to the wall. So you want to feather it out or to fade it out. You see how I'm curving the clippers out as I go up and out. Take your time on this step. You just want to make sure that the transition between the longest hair on top is smooth. Next is the number 3 clip. That is 10 millimeters. It's still in the same closed lever position. And you want to go just under where you went with the 4. As high as you can, but don't pass where you went with the 4. There's nothing to it. Very easy to fade between the 3 and the 4. Next is a number 2, 6 millimeters, in the same closed lever position, the short position. And you're going to do the same thing. Just go underneath where you went with the number 3. Again, you want to go as high as possible, but staying underneath where you went with the 3. Next, I'm going to be putting the number 1 clip, which is 3 millimeters, onto the clippers. And I'm moving the lever here in the opened position, the long position. And I'm going to do the same exact thing, just go underneath where I went with the 2. For the next step, if you have regular clippers, you're just going to put the lever in the middle position. On these clippers I have notches, so I'm just going to put it up 2 notches. It's going to be in the middle, and you go underneath where you went with the opened number 1. And then I push it all the way in, and I'm going to go even lower right around my sideburns. And I'm going to open up the lever just a little bit here so I could get my beard, fade it back into my beard. The more it's open, the longer it cuts, and the more it's closed, the shorter it cuts. So that was method number 1. Now method number 2 is to start from the bottom and go 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of 4, 3, 2, 1. So we're starting low here with the number 1 in the closed position. The lever is now in the middle position, and I go just a bit higher, about another inch higher. Now it's in the long position, about another half an inch or so. I'm just going higher, and this is slowly fading. Now I put on the number 2. I left it in the open position here accidentally. It should really be in the closed position, but you're just going to go about an inch or half an inch above where you went with the previous one. Always try going up and out so that you're fading into the hair on top. And you see I'm starting to get where I need to be. After this step, I'm going to go, as you guessed, with the 3 and then with the 4. And that should fade it really easily into the longest hair on top. Here's the number 3. There's nothing to it. You're just going to slowly go up and out, trying to blend into that longer hair on top. Here I'm going to use a number 4, finally to blend in to the hair on top. Take your time with this step. Keep brushing the hair the way you're going to brush it afterwards. Now, if after either of these methods you still have a line on top in between that longest hair and what you've just faded, you can take the number 6 clip. I'm not going to do it here, but I'm just showing you. You would go up there with the number 6, and that should take care of that line. Now, as I do the back, I'm actually not seeing what I'm cutting just because I know the 4 is a pretty safe clip to use. So I'm going up and out, trying to stay parallel with the ceiling, not curving along the crown of my head, going over and over to make sure I get all of the hair. I'm going to use the mirror in a second, but for now I know I could just chuck away at the bottom and I can't really mess anything up. So here I take out the mirror and I'm trying to fade into that longest hair on top. I'm having a little bit of difficulty, and I'll show you in just a second. I realize an old tip of mine from a previous video, that if you actually turn around and have the large mirror on the wall towards the back of your head, that you actually have a much better view and much more control of cutting the back of your hair. So after trying for some time and looking and trying to get the right angle, I finally realize, let's turn around. And now I can see the back of my head much better, much more clearly. I have a lot more control. So now I'm just fading in to that hair on top. I can see much more clearly what's long, what's not faded right. Next, I'm going to take the number 3 and I go just underneath where I went with the number 4, just like I did on the sides. Start from the top and go lower. Next is the number 2, and I'm just going to go under where I went with the number 3. And you can see between the 4 and the 3 and the 2, it's all very easy to blend. I'm going here in the opposite direction that my hair grows. I have a lot of cowlicks in the back there, and it's going to make it much more difficult for me to cut my hair. So be encouraged that if I'm able to do this, that you are too. Next, I'm taking a number 1 clip in the long or open lever position, and I'm going up about 4 inches. You can go as high or as low as you want. You can stop at any part of this fade depending on how short you want it. I'm going to try to fade my neckline out entirely so that I don't have to use a trimmer horizontally. So I'm going up here, I'd say maybe even about 5 inches with the 1 in the long position. Again, going in the opposite direction wherever my hair grows differently. You see that step made a big difference already. Now in the middle position, I take the clippers and I go about 3 or 4 inches up, just not past where I just went. Always going in all different directions to fade it out. And next step, as you guessed it, is in the closed position, the shortest position. And I'm doing the same exact thing, just a little bit lower. And you see how quickly already the fade is coming along. Now if you have a normal neckline, you're probably in pretty good shape by now. I have to work extra hard here. I'm taking the half clip here in the open position. It's the first time I'm using the half clip. If you don't have it, it's not the end of the world. You can still make this work. I do sell it on my website, tipsforclipshair.com, if you need to add it to your kit. And I'm going just about 2 inches up from the total bottom. And here's the half clip in the closed or short position. I'm going even lower. And here's just some extra work that I have to do to get rid of those cowlicks. And I'm just showing it here for clarity's sake. So there's no TV magic. I'm going in all different directions, trying to get rid of those lines. You shouldn't have to work this much. But I've taken all the clips off now, and I've put the lever in the long position, and I'm going all along the bottom. These are no guards, no attachments on the clippers. Careful, because by now your clippers might be a little hot to the touch, so don't leave them too long on your skin. All different directions again on the bottom, trying to get rid of all of those patches of hair. And lastly, I put it in the closed position. Be very careful, because this is as close to a 0 as your clippers get. And I'm just going along the bottom. Doesn't have to be a perfectly straight line, and that's the key here. I'm fading it out so I don't have to get a perfectly straight line. Now I put the lever in the middle, and I'm trying to make sure there's no line at the bottom. This takes a bit of an artistic touch, just trying to get rid of those lines. Again, I'm doing it in the middle lever position here to fade between the closed position and the open position. If you have someone to help you with this step, do so. If you don't want it this short, definitely stop at an earlier step and just have somebody help you shape up your neckline with a pair of trimmers. And here I'm just doing touch-up work. It's always needed. I'm going back in with the number 1, trying to knock out any of those lines or patches. The last step after this is to take your trimmers and to make as straight a line as you can on each side of your neck. This is difficult, slow and steady. Try to feel out your mirror and how your hand moves as it's being mirrored and reflected into the mirror. You just want a straight line along the side. Again, if you have some help here, that would be ideal. And you're going to see too that as I make this line, I start to notice imperfections in the fade that I'm going to fix up and touch up afterwards. And I'll show you those touch-ups. That's a nice straight line there. So I go to the other side. This line does make a big difference. Makes the haircut look much cleaner, more professional, very crisp, like you went to the barber. You see I have pretty decent fade already in the back. And once I put that line in, it gives a lot of definition to the fade and the blending. To get behind your ears, you could look forward into the mirror, those higher areas. Much easier to do when you're looking straight. And you see these trimmers have a T edge, which help you get around the ears in those difficult areas. And the trimmers that are included in this kit have the same T edge. And now I'm going to do my touch-ups. I have a half clip here, just trying to get rid of any lines that were caused by the clippers without any guards on. And I'm going back in and touching up the line as well here. Next is a quick demonstration of how to fade in the beard. I already told you to start with a number 1. Here's a number 1 in the open lever position, and I'm going a little bit lower. You see my beard is getting lighter towards the bottom. Then I'm going to take the half guard just along my sideburns, just because I have light patches there. And here's a number 3 to knock out the rest of my beard. Nothing to it. You can use the same clippers that you used for your hair. Use it for your beard. Go along your chin, your cheeks, and your mustache. I choose to cut my mustache a slightly different way, so I'll show you how I do that in a second. Here, I do not recommend doing this method. I took the trimmers and I'm lightening up my soul patch and my mustache. Now, if you slip here in this method, you're left with no mustache. You will shave it completely off. I'm doing it very lightly, but I would recommend just using the clippers with whatever length you want to trim your mustache, and that'll be much easier and safer. I'm lining up the bottom of my mustache here, getting a nice straight line, make it look nice and clean. And on the top, turned around my trimmers, making a straight line there, cleaning up any extra hairs on the side of my mustache. And next I will line up my beard underneath my cheekbones. Just a straight line. I try to keep everything as natural as possible. Cleaning up around my sideburns. Just curve it a little bit, get any excess hairs. Curve it into the natural line of my beard. And I will make a straight line along my jawline as well. Right there. Straight line down, again keeping it as natural as possible. Here I'm getting my neckline, again keeping it as natural as possible, relatively low. Just getting the excess hairs, making a straight line as much as I can. Same thing on the other side. Make a straight line along the jawline and curve along my sideburns. It's a much better view here for you guys. Take it slowly, get all the hairs off. Go straight along where the line naturally is. Try to make it as subtle of a curve as possible. Not much to it except taking your time. Practice obviously makes it easier. Here I'm taking a number 2 just to fade in between the 1 and the 3 on my beard very quickly. The easiest way to do your hair on top is to take your clippers and clip with a long clip, like a number 8, in the direction that your hair grows. So if you're going to do it on top, from the back of your head towards the front of your forehead. I have this in previous videos. It's really easy to go in the direction that your hair grows. That's if you want to keep it long, but mainly one level. But here I'm just brushing my hand through my hair, seeing where any of the hair curls on top, where it's excessively long. I'm snipping it mainly to the same length and brushing my hair as I go through. And of course, as you start brushing your hair in the way you're going to brush it normally, you get a feel for where you want it shorter and longer. Lastly, I'm just washing my hair. I'm going to put some hair paste, style it, and that is all there is to this haircut. You have two methods, either from top to bottom or bottom to top, high numbers to low numbers or low numbers to high numbers. If you follow this step by step, you can do it yourself at home. Here's what I started with as a reminder, and here's the finished product. I do have a new channel out called Reasonable Religion. I'll link it below. If you want to subscribe, it is a channel on theology, ethics, spirituality, religion of all sorts. I share my thoughts there, and I'd be happy to hear yours. Thanks for supporting this channel. Please continue to like, subscribe, share, and comment. Here are some of my other haircutting videos, and I'll see you at the next video.